As we know, the talk of the NFL world is that the Green Bay Packers have acquired Micah Parsons. And now the Super Bowl window is open. But I'm here to let you all know, not for very long. Y'all know we're going to talk about it, break it all down, but you got to hear the music first.
Welcome to your number one spot for all NFL news and content, NFL Central.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into another episode of NFL Central, your number one spot for everything NFL. I'm your host here, Bobby, and I'm holding it down on another daily episode. So if you tuned in, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. We got football is now back. We got the NCAA kicking off with some games this weekend, and it's going to be a good one. And the NFL season will roll around and get started this upcoming Thursday and the start of September. Y'all know it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of things to talk about. So make sure you in lockstep with NFL Central because we taking it to another level this season. But hey, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. They went out there and shocked the NFL world by acquiring Micah Parsons in a trade that was something I did not see. I did not see it. And as a guy that follows the league a lot, it was something I did not see happening, but it happened. And now the Super Bowl window is now open for the Green Bay Packers, but not for long. But not for long. I think that the Green Bay Packers right now, as it all matches up, and I kind of mapped it out for you all on the last episode, is that when we talk about contenders out of the NFC, the Green Bay Packers are tied at fourth for me when it comes to Super Bowl contenders. I have the Eagles, the Rams, the Commanders, and tied at fourth is the Lions, the Packers, and the Tampa Bay Bucks when it comes to Super Bowl contenders for this upcoming season. But that does not mean that the Green Bay Packers don't have a chance after this season. It just means that, hey, y'all ain't got long to cash in on that Super Bowl. I look at teams across in the AFC and I say, hey, Green Bay Packers, are you better than a Baltimore Ravens right now? No. Are you better than the Kansas City Chiefs right now? No. Are you better than the Buffalo Bills right now? No. Are you better than the Cincinnati Bengals right now? That's a matchup where you line up at because their defense is not that good in Cincinnati. But right now, I'm going to still get a nod to Joey Burrow and my man's over there, Jamar Chase, over the Green Bay Packers right now until I find out what these pass catchers can do in Green Bay. But the reason I'm saying that the window is open, but not for long, is for a number of reasons when we talk about the Green Bay Packers. When we talk about the Green Bay Packers, the Super Bowl window is open, but not for long due to Ed Policy. If you don't know who that is the CEO of the Green Bay Packers who has now been put in place of the Green Bay Packers and has not sent out extensions to head coach Matt LaFleur or GM Brian Gutekunst. Those two guys have 2 years left on their deal. That's why this deal for Micah Parsons seems like a splash move from Brian Gutekunst to say, hey, for me to keep my job, I need to go out there and make something happen and something shake. So let's go get Micah Parsons. Let's say F those picks. Let's say give him this money that changes the market for pass rushers. Because simply, when it came to the money that they gave Micah Parsons, you literally could have said, all right, TJ Watt got 41. We're going to give you 42. They said, no, we're going to shock the world and switch up the whole market as a whole, and gave him $6 more million than TJ Watt. Now, one side of the discussion when you talk about Micah Parsons versus a TJ Watt, versus a Myles Garrett, versus a Max Crosby, and a Aiden Hutchinson, some of the best pass rushers in there, I don't know if we putting Micah Parsons at the top. I'm not. I'm not putting Micah Parsons at the top as pass rushers when it comes to guys like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Aiden Hutchinson, and Max Crosby. Now, if you want to go out there and have a debate and say he's top three at least, we can have that debate. But I know for damn sure I want TJ Watt and Myles Garrett before I think about Micah Parsons. That's just me. You can decide on how you want to go when you line that up, but that's on you. But let's get back to it. Ed Policy. Right now, he has not talked about extending his head coach, Matt LaFleur, or Brian Gutekunst, and pretty much said that he is opposed to having a lame duck head coach and a lame duck GM. In fact, earlier in June, he said during an interview with NBC, he said this: I think normally you have a pretty good idea of where that relationship is going when you have 2 years left. Not always, but normally. But it creates a lot of issues because they also have to hire a staff. Generally speaking, I would avoid lame duck status. It's oftentimes difficult on everybody involved, but there are certain situations that probably call for it. So I would not say never. I would not say never, end quote. Now, what that says to me is these guys got to show me that they are worthy of this new contract. And I'm not in the business of just having a guy work on a deal with 1 year left on a deal. If I feel like I need to make a change and I have not seen that standard be lived up to, we're going to move off these guys. We're going to move in another direction because I am here to win. Very well so. You got to give Green Bay credit whether you like them or love them. They've always had a good system to bring in quarterbacks, to bring in young talent, and to be competitive in the NFC North and be competitive in the NFL. So you have to give Green Bay credit in that regard. But what we will say is, and what we cannot avoid is, that when we talk about the Green Bay Packers and Matt LaFleur specifically over the last few years, when he had Aaron Rodgers winning back-to-back seasons, Matt LaFleur, they was getting their ass bounced with home field advantage. Then when we talk about going out and getting Jordan Love and looking to that and letting them sit and then going, and we see him have a little bit of success in the playoffs, and then we try to run it back again, Jordan Love gets embarrassed by the Philadelphia Eagles in their first playoff matchup versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, some people may chalk it up and say, hey, they was eventually the champions. Cool. You might just take it on the chin and keep it pushing. But at the same time, if the standard is to be held high in a high regard, you cannot omit anything that Matt LaFleur has established himself as, you know what I'm saying, as a head coach in the playoffs, not regular season, because the regular season success is there for Matt LaFleur. But in the playoffs, with a back-to-back MVP in Aaron Rodgers, y'all got sent home in such a bad way. Matt LaFleur got sent home with Aaron Rodgers back-to-back MVPs in a bad way. And then just last season, you got sent home with Jordan Love in a bad way. And right now, we sit here, at least if you're thinking objectively as a football fan, you're sitting here saying, hey, Jordan Love is talented, but is he really like that? That's what we sitting here saying. Is Jordan Love really like that? So with Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst having 2 years left on the deal, it's a lot of discussions that the front office, or at least the CEO and Ed Policy, have to decide on what they need to be doing. And can we all agree that trading for Micah Parsons in this fashion is out of the, it's not of the Green Bay Packers. They don't do this. They don't do things like this. They normally say, we're going to roll how we going to roll. We got a good quarterback, and we're going to go out there and develop our young guys and hold on to our draft picks. So the window for these guys are open, but I feel like there's a little bit of pressure at the top that's going to funnel down towards the players, and we'll see how they respond. We'll see how they respond, because this move now increases your cap value in just 2 players, Jordan Love and Micah Parsons, accounting for over $100 million themselves. And then when we talk about contracts, we're talking about they're only going to get more expensive for guys like Rashawn Gary, who's making $7 million this year. He's going to make $18 million next year, and then the following year, $21 million. You're talking about Aaron Banks. His contract is a ascending contract that's going to get more expensive. You're talking about center Elton Jenkins with a contract that is going to ascend as the years go on. So while the window is open, They have to cash in. The Green Bay Packers have to win a championship to validate anything right now. And keep in mind, I'm thinking 3 years, but in reality, it's a 2-year deal. It's a 2-year deal for the Green Bay Packers and head coach Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst. Head coach Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst have 2 years to cash in on a Super Bowl. Otherwise, they might be out the door for the Green Bay Packers. They might be gone. That's why this move right here for Micah Parsons is good for them. But it's also one that could be costly because it could cost those guys their jobs. It can cost them their jobs. Simply because Ed Policy was like, I don't want to go lame duck status, but I will if I have to. In other words, we heard the quote, I will if I have to. And how many times are you going to go and make it to the playoffs or hit your head on the goalpost of the playoffs? But once you hit your head on the goalpost of the playoffs and you get in the playoffs, you get bounced in the first round, or you don't win the division and you don't have home field advantage. And when you do have home field advantage, you're still getting sent home anyway. So the margin for error for the Green Bay Packers, you have to cash in. I'm not saying, look, I'm not trying to crap on them. I'm not. But the reality is that Ed Policy ain't playing. Ed Policy don't seem like he about to play around with these guys. Now, I say at a minimum, the Green Bay Packers have to make the NFC Championship game for those guys and Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst to receive an extension further past these next 2 years. That's how they're going to be able to stand fast, be able to continue to work this thing out, and see how they will figure these things out. Now, the GM, Brian Gutekunst, we talked about Rashawn Gary and that ascendant money that's going up. We talked about Aaron Banks and that money going up, Elton Jenkins and that money going up. But there's paydays coming around too. And when you allocating so much money to guys like Jordan Love and Micah Parsons, you all the money is over here now with a little bit left in the middle for paydays coming up, and Romeo Dobbs, so making decisions if you want to keep him around. Jaden Reed to making decisions if you want to keep him around. Quay Walker to making decisions if you want to see him around. This is every NFL GM. Let's make sure we make that clear. Every NFL GM has that job of managing money, making sure that it's good. But paying somebody $6 million over market value, that could be a gut punch. That could be a gut punch because we've seen guys like Deshaun Watson cash in on a fully guaranteed contract, and then other quarterbacks that are better than him, we've seen Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, all cash in after the guaranteed contract of Deshaun Watson, right? And nobody went out there and got that type of money to the extent of a Deshaun Watson because NFL owners and good GMs was like, to hell with you. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. They wanted to manage the money the smart way, and they did that. Now, this could be something where people look at Micah Parsons and be like, hey, we know you got 47 million, but for our said players, they ain't getting 47 million per. They can look at that. They can look at that. And there's some people in Dallas right now. Look, you take it for what you will when it comes to Micah Parsons. I think he's a hell of a player. But with hell of a players, there's always a downside to some of the players. Some of them, not all of them, some of them. Some of them can be good at pass rushing and be bad at run defense. That's the knock on Micah Parsons right now if we keeping it real and removing the emotions out of this. Remove the emotions and talk about Micah Parsons to that degree. 4 playoff games, 1 sack. That's a fact. That's not opinion. That's a fact, not opinion. And we've seen matchups with Micah Parsons be taken out of games because the offensive coordinator game plan to running to his side to wear him down throughout the game. And then Micah Parsons become non-existent. How does Micah Parsons at 26 years old grow from that? Is the biggest question now that he's in Green Bay making $47 million. I understand it with Micah Parsons. 12 sacks every single year that he's been in the league. 3-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler. All the stats are there for Micah Parsons, but at the end of the day, $47 million and you can't help in run defense, that's an issue that teams are going to try to exploit when it comes to playing him and the Green Bay Packers now, because that was an issue in Dallas. And I'm hearing it from people from Dallas. They was like, he couldn't help us stop the run, bro. He was great at rushing the passer, but he could not help us stop the run. Guy making $47 million per year, you got to help stop the run. You got to help stop the run. That's just how it goes. You can't tell me Myles Garrett ain't big in run defense. You can't tell me TJ Watt is not big in defense. You can't tell me Nick Bosa is not good in defense. Micah Parsons, I believe you can get it done, but I have not seen you do it yet. But still, at 26 years old, you can make improvements in that department of run defense, because they're going to need it. They're going to need it with giving up Kenny Clark, the big man in the middle. The big man in the middle. He's gone now. How would that run defense look for the Green Bay Packers? The pass rush is going to be great, but it's always two different styles of play on offense, bro. You're either going to run the ball or pass the ball. And a lot of teams are going to run the ball now. Will Micah Parsons stand up to fit the bill? So, yes, ultimately, we look at this for what it really is. 2 to 3 year Super Bowl window for the Green Bay Packers. I don't necessarily think they can get it done, but we'll see. I've seen things that shock me all the time in the NFL. So we're going to see if the Green Bay Packers can cash in on this 2 to 3 year window for a Super Bowl. And personally, I don't think Jordan Love great enough to cash in on a Super Bowl. That's just my opinion. You let me know yours down below, because that is it for me today. I appreciate y'all, man, for tuning in to another episode, bro. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know how y'all feeling about today's episode. Leave your feedback, comments, concerns down below, and we're going to chop it up about this topic. How long do you give the Green Bay Packers in their Super Bowl window with all things considered? Let me know how y'all feeling about it down below. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all always love football. Y'all already know. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. For sure. Peace. Hey.
This has been a presentation of the Break